Welcome to the first implementation call inside of the Agency Accelerator Week. Now, first 4 episodes, I'm going to be honest with you, I had to keep those a little bit more surface level, a little bit more generalized. The point of this week is to really show you what Agency Accelerator is about, which is the most step-by-step agency training that's ever been made. The 3 episodes you're going to get here inside of the implementation week are modules that are taken directly from the phases inside the program that really show you how to find clients, sign them, and keep them for as long as possible and make sure that they are over the moon with the service that you provide. Today's episode is with Guillaume. Guillaume owns Lemlist, which is a multi-9-figure software. Now, inside the program, I could have brought on an outreach expert, or I could bring on the guy who owns the software that all the outreach experts use to do their outreach. Guillaume gets to see the back-end outreach for over $100 million that was processed through Lemlist last month alone. He is the #1 expert in the world when it comes to outreach. And in today's module, he's gonna show you exactly how to create a successful campaign. And he's gonna show you how to do this through intent-based campaigns, which pretty much no one talks about. And with this, you're gonna be able to turn cold prospects into paying clients for your agency on demand. So with no further ado, let's get into it.
When I first got started with cold emailing, I tested thousands of different frameworks to understand what would work and not work. I went from receiving this kind of reply to receiving this kind of email. We're at the stage where you know how to build your personal brand so the people you reach out to will know that you're someone they can trust. So now I'm gonna show you how to convince them to have a meeting with you with the right cold email. In this video, you will see that every well-written email that books meetings has a very clear structure that you can replicate and adapt for your niche. I'm going to show you the anatomy of a perfect email, exclusive example and frameworks of subject lines that give you good open and reply rates, how to write a perfect pitch, and how to write a clear call to action that opens conversation. But before we dive into it, let me tell you about the most important thing that defines your email success. Without it, even the most perfect email that is written based on the best practice will go straight into the bin. Can you guess what it is? The intent. The intent is knowing when to send the right offer at the right time to the right type of customers. Let me give you an example. Back in the COVID times when everyone was trying to get face masks, we had a customer who reached out to their prospect with the worst copywriting of all time. The subject line was "need mask?" And the email had no intro, no fancy pitch, just a few lines explaining that they have masks that they can supply to offices so employees can use them. Just because the intent was so strong, people couldn't work without masks. Their email got tons of positive responses and they generated millions of dollars. When you choose the right intent, you're destined to get a response from your prospect. With the intent, it also becomes easier to write your email. Choose your subject and personalize your pitch and the call to action. And last but not least, it helps you send your email at the right time. I'm going to cover the 3 main intents so you can get the overall idea how to use them. The company is hiring, people changing their roles, and the company is raising funds. If a company is hiring, it usually means their process are going to change a bit since they are adding more people. For example, at Lemlist, we pay attention to when sales teams are hiring since we help these teams boost growth with outbound sales. To use this tactic, you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator account filters to find companies that have grown their sales team. This is what the filter looks like on Sales Navigator. The second intent is when people change roles. So for example, if you see that someone you follow goes from SDR to manager or head of or director, we say this is a good intent because generally, when you start on your role, you are looking to introduce new tools and new tactics to increase performance within your first 90 days. To do this, there are a few things you can do. Follow these targets on LinkedIn. Set post notification for them on LinkedIn, the little bell on their profile. Add them to a list on LinkedIn Sales Navigator and activate notification when something changes. The third intent is when a company raised funds recently. If a company raises funds, they obviously have some money to spend, but this also means that they will be trying to grow the company much faster. You can also learn so much about their initiative this way, since there are usually press releases and articles that will state what they hope to do with the funding. To find targets this way, you can follow the company on LinkedIn plus turn on Sales Navigator's notification for the account, or simply use Crunchbase to identify leads that have raised funds recently. Or you can also do this manually by using Google News or through a Google search, filtering by site, like the screenshot below. You can identify your own intent to use in your niche using the same logic. Or go to Lemlist templates library and see what other intents we also use. Another powerful intent is to reach out to people who interact with your LinkedIn content. After all, this is exactly why you're building your personal brand. So let's have a look at this post about Taplio that I wrote a month ago. This post had roughly 1,200 people commenting or liking a post about the story of our company and why I believe that the future lies into a mix between personal brand and outreach called the hybrid funnel. So what I'm gonna do is to extract all the people who commented and liked. They are the hottest leads. Then I'm gonna find their emails using a mix of Lemlist and Taplio and start sending them a multi-channel campaign. I will focus only on the first message to show you the power of intent. You can now see it on your screen. And these are some of the replies I received. For the full demo of what I've just covered, you will have Kevin who will show you how to do what I've just done step by step. Now, why did it work so well? The intent is perfect. These people liked the post and I just follow up. The conversation already started on the platform where they saw how much reach and traction I had. The trust is established and the outbound part is all about closing the deals. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, but I won't get such a reach on LinkedIn at first. That's true, but you don't need it. You see Tal, who works in sales in our team, does the exact same approach, but without the same reach at all. It might only have 10 likes, but it generated 3 qualified meetings. And that's because you shouldn't only focus on likes and comments. Sure, this is a good way to get the hottest lead, but there's a secret no one knows about. On your Sales Navigator account, you can see who visited your profile in the last 90 days. And that's the people you should reach out to. You see, most people on LinkedIn are lurkers. They see your content but never interact with it. However, they will go on your profile to check you out. Let me tell you a story. Back in 2018, I had a meeting with the head of sales of a US-based publicly traded company called Zendesk. When we started talking, I asked him how he knew about us, and he told me that the only thing he could see on his LinkedIn was my content. At the time, I didn't have such a big audience nor a huge reach. After looking at all my posts for the last months, I realized that not once he had liked or commented on my post, but he was reading them. This meant that I had built so much trust that the closing phase was a lot easier. Once you extract the list of people who visited your profile, simply contact them mentioning the typical topics you discuss. Kevin will show you how to do it in the demo. Now that you understand why it's important to reach a prospect with the right intent and how it impacts your chances of a positive reply, I'm going to show you how to write a good cold email, what structure to follow, and what pitfalls to avoid. So let's start by looking at this example. This email has a generated intro, fake flattery that I'm sure was generated to their entire campaign, and the biggest problem of all, completely irrelevant to my business. The intent just isn't right. When we launch a business or work for a company, we get so caught up in what we do, believing that it is unique and awesome that we forget the number one rule of any relationship. If you truly want to be loved and remembered, you should make it about them and not about you. And if your emails currently look like this, don't worry, that's what we're here to fix. Now the ideal email contains an interesting subject line that sparks attention, a personalized intro line that connects to your audience, followed by your pitch that is centered around value for your prospect and ends with a clear call to action. Let's look at this example. The subject line is one word that isn't common for emails, an instant spark of curiosity. The intro, so you've got a team of outbound SDR, is short and straight to the point, but show that you've done your research. Then there's a brief list of struggles the prospect may struggle with, which connects to the sales pitch. The pitch clearly explains what's in it for the customers. It's not self-centered at all, and the open question calls for the continuation of the conversation. And then there's a personalized message that resonates with the company's struggle. Of course, there are some other things that you can add, but this is the basic structure. I will show you how you can create such emails in a few minutes. After you find the intent you're going to target, you need to start with a subject line. The first rule of a good subject line is to keep it personalized. Look at these two examples. Which one will make a potential customer think that the email was written just for them. The first example can be sent to anyone. It's not personalized at all, super generic. While the second one, when you mention your potential customer competitor, show that your email is industry specific and was written specifically for them. Remember your LinkedIn hooks? Your email subject lines have the same purpose: to stop your prospect from scrolling in the inbox. Look at the wording in the example in green. I have an idea of how to boost your sales. First of all, I makes it look more human. Second, it sounds conversational and much friendlier than a simple, plain book sales consulting meetings. So keep your email subject line concise and straight to the point, and show the value you bring. Notice how the second example has a company's name in it. Personalization is key. So email subject line should not take up a lot of space. Readers should click after one look. We've tried different lengths, and here are the results we've received. As you can see, the shorter the subject line, the higher the chance that the prospect will open it. Now let's talk about the cold email subject line that had the lowest success rate of our analysis. Your video will be deleted in 3 days. Do you notice how spammy it sounds? The next one is first name special 25% off coupon. This one sounds like a scam, and it's not specific enough. 20% off what? And why is it helpful to your prospect? What is your request? So let's move on to the next one. Launching your own NFT marketplace has never been easier. This subject line is too long, and again, it's not specific enough. Why would this prospect want an NFT marketplace? How is it easier? Next is 90% of companies are struggling with hiring developers. See why. This subject line is too long and looks like the title of a listicle instead of a helpful email. Plus, imagine your prospect looking at it on their phones. Half of the text won't be shown. Next, we have act now, first name. This offer will expire. You can already tell that it's pushy and too salesy. It also includes trigger words like act now that can get your email marked as spam. I've prepared for you a list of trigger words to avoid so your subject lines don't come off spammy, like congratulations, 100% free, no fees, win, make money, limited time, act now, call now, you're a winner, not spam, etc., etc., etc. So you'll be able to access all that list directly in Notion. Now let's talk a bit more in detail about personalization. Many people, and myself included in the beginning, think that just by adding a company's name to a subject line, it will be personalized. This is not how it actually works. And to prove it, we've analyzed hundreds of thousands of Lemlist campaigns, meaning hundreds of millions of emails. Just having you or first name in the subject line didn't make a notable difference. So what does that mean? You'll have to take your personalization a step further than adding basic keywords. Here are 2 ways that you can do that. The first one is to try more specific variables than just first name. Personalize your subject line with custom variables like pinpoint, competitor, common ground, or objective. With Lemlist, you can automatically personalize your subject line and messages. And Kevin from my team will cover it in his demo. Another way to personalize your subject line is to ask your prospect a question if it's relevant. Traditionally, people believe that it's a good way to speak curiosity and engage a prospect in a discussion, but our data shows that it's not necessarily true. As you can see from this chart, adding a question to your B2B cold email subject won't guarantee success. And if you try to over-optimize by adding multiple question marks, this will hurt your open rate. So how should you use questions in the subject lines? First of all, be specific. Ask a question that addresses the prospect's specific pain point. Example, need help with pain points or need help with growing on LinkedIn. Second, challenge their expectations. Provoke a response by surprising them. Happy with 50% opening? Now let's look at 10 good subject lines and why they work. This subject line all got 80+% open rates and were sent at least 50 times. Subject line 1, love your last article. Why this subject line works? It's short, simple, and personal. The email was sent within days of the prospect publishing content that align with the sender value proposition. It focuses on the prospect and it's personal without overusing personalization buzzword. How can you use it? Well, you can reach out to your prospect based on specific timing triggers. Congratulate them on recent work or achievements instead of just selling your product immediately. This is also a great subject line for networking. Subject line number 2, last call, first name, closing soon. Why this subject line works? Because it adds urgency and intrigue. This example came from a follow-up email, so the lead already has context for the offer that was ending. With this subject line, the lead is incentivized to act quickly, open the email, and respond. A subject line like this is best used as a second or third contact once the lead already has an idea of the value you're offering. So use it as a push to get them to act in a short time frame once you've already warmed them up. Subject line number 3, little surprise for you, first name. Why does this subject line work? Well, it's expressive, evokes curiosity, and offers something to the prospect in a friendly and casual way. How to use it? Use a subject line like this when you are sure there's value added to your message. Match it with a helpful resource, a referral, or a free trial that addresses your prospect's specific needs. For example, here's a little surprise for you, Peter. I'm pleased to offer you an exclusive link to try out our premium features. The subject line number 4 is collaboration with domain. This subject is short, simple, and straight to the point. The prospect knows exactly what is being offered and how they can act on it. So use a subject line like this when your prospect is already familiar with your domain or brand name. Include social proof in your message, otherwise the offer of a collaboration will not be enough of a vote. You can do this by connecting via LinkedIn first, or if you have already interacted with this prospect online or in person. For example, collaboration with Lemlist after a conversation on LinkedIn the other day. I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity of shooting you an email to make this happen. Subject line number 5, first name, how about we have a chat? This subject line is casual and friendly. It doesn't ask too much from the prospect and present also a clear action, just a quick chat. Pair this subject line with an email that offers a clear benefit to the prospect for having a chat with you. So deliver value immediately so that your prospect is urged to take time out of their schedule for a call with you. For example, Peter, are you up for a chat? I've been reading your latest article and thought of a couple of ways to help you continue to grow your business. I'd love to discuss them with you. Subject line number 6, ideas for pain point. This subject line addresses a prospect pain point and offers actionable solution. This one calls for an in-depth research upfront in order to understand the different pain points. The pain point should be narrow and specific to your prospect. That's why you should always keep a list of the pain points you've identified while telling your customers and doing research through different communities. Subject line number 7, question about company culture at company name. This one sparked the prospect interest without selling anything. This subject line was used by an HR SaaS company, so the company culture topic transitioned easily into its core offering. So swap out company culture for a detail that is more specific to your prospect and product. Turn your question into your email first line or hook. Your prospect should see the subject line and first line in the preview and know immediately what you are asking. For example, how did Lemlist begin its international expansion? Was wondering what tactic Lemlist used to expand the company internationally, etc., etc. Next subject line is ideas and feedback for you and company name. Companies are always looking for customer feedback to make their products and services better. This offers some genuine user feedback with a centered transition into a discussion of how they could help the company with the specific needs that they have. To use it effectively, give the business legitimate and actionable feedback in your message. Add details that are relevant to them, and again, do some research ahead of time. For example, improve graphic design to attract attention. After taking a look at your website, found that you've got some great content, but graphic design could use a bit of a boost. Subject line number 9 is, hey, first name, congrats on your funding round. This one is timely and specific. This was sent by a salesperson offering a product for sales team. So the funding round meant resources for the startup to scale their team. Find a specific trigger that relates to your product, like funding round, just started a new job, IPO, etc., and congratulate your prospect. Then offer a resource, call, or idea that is valuable to them at this specific moment. For example, hey Peter, congrats on your funding round. I was impressed to learn about your latest achievements. We could set up a coffee date to discuss how you can keep the ball rolling. And the last subject line is build company name like common interest. This is a strong one because it's targeted and builds FOMO. You already know the prospect is interested in common interest and they don't want to miss out on building their business. Again, you will need to do a bit of research to find the common interest between yourself and your prospect. It could be an entrepreneur, a mutual connection, or even a sports team, as long as it's relevant and it sparks interest. For example, Lemlist will win more trophies than Messi. You can test different subject lines to see which one works best with A/B testing. Like this, you will have your own data and a better understanding of your customers. Try 2 variations of the same subject line. So for example, subject line with or without emojis. Send one variation to 50% of your audience and the second variation to the other 50%. Make sure that there are enough people in the email list for the results to be relevant statistically. Aim for 100 to 200 people. And once that's done, you can compare the open rates and reply rate for each subject line. You learn which techniques your audience respond best to. A good subject line is 1/3 of the determination of whether you will receive a response from your prospect, so it's okay to dedicate some time to practicing it. Subject lines are vital to your campaign because they are one of the first things that your lead will see along with your name and intro line. But that brings us to the next part, your intro line. If the subject line contains only a couple of words, it means that part of your intro line will also be seen in the inbox. That's why it's important to mention important things in the subject straight away and don't make your intro line feel like a letdown. Like your subject line, you want to make your intro line as eye-catching and interesting as possible. This would be the key to ensuring the rest of your email is read. It is also way too common for us to waste the intro line focusing on ourselves instead of on your lead. You might be saying, but gee, how will they know who I am and what I'm doing? I can assure you that they will find out this information later. The goal of the intro line is not to introduce yourself, but to show them how you have gotten to know them. However, if you leave the intro line about yourself, the chances of your lead getting to the value proposition are very, very low. In this example, the intro is very generic. The idea is to move from this kind of introduction to highly personalized ones that are captivating. The best intros are value-based. So this is when you state right away why you're reaching out and how you can help. You promise to either solve a problem, boost efficiency, or offer game-changing info without any string attached. Start strong by showing what's in it for them to ignite a conversation. Once they engage, you've got the green light to pursue them. For example, I've got a hack to slash your content production by half. So make it about them, not about you. Look at these 2 intros. The first one jumps straight into selling. The second one shows that you've done your research and understand your prospect. So a great intro is also when you compliment their achievements. So here, a prospect shared a post about their latest company's win. Since L'Empire is on the same growth path, I use the company's news to build my intro line. In addition to a company's milestone, you can also use the opening line to celebrate someone's promotion. This creates an even more personal connection between you and the reader, as it shows you're not only following the company news, but also their progress as an individual. Here's how a member of our team uses this kind of opening line to connect with a prospect. You can also start by showing that you understand your prospect needs and struggles based on the content they share. So look at these 2 examples. The left one doesn't show that you've done any research. It's salesy and very self-centered. The right one addresses the right struggle and suggests that you are gonna propose a good solution to it. Another great way to start your email is to show that you share the same opinion as your prospect. This creates an emotional connection and increases the chance that they will be hooked and keep reading. As you can see, it requires a bit of research, but that's what it takes to stand out. So you can leverage what you've learned about your prospect when following your intro with real concrete feedback on the company. It should tie into the offer you have for them and position you as an expert on the subject. Here, on your screen, is an example of a successful email that used this opening line. For a powerful opening line that allows your prospect to imagine a clear business results, give this one a try. It delivers value right off the bat with an exciting metric that the prospect could attain if they respond to your email. Mentioning a team member, manager, or CEO of the company they work for makes it even more personalized. Another intro line that makes good use of social media. This one calls out someone's recent activity and connects your pitch with their needs. For example, if you're part of the same Facebook community or forum as a prospect that shows that you share mutual interests, if you then reference a specific post or comments that the prospect made, you're building the relationship. So here's one way you can use it. Now, if you follow up on your prospect based on the interaction you've already had, you can use the intro as promised, ... For example, Tal uses this intro when sending his guide to people who engage with his LinkedIn post. If your prospect attended one of your events, for example, like a webinar, you can send them a follow-up with this intro. Yesterday, you attended my webinar about specific topic. As you may have noticed, I already showed you several examples with personalized pictures. This is by far one of the most powerful tactics for getting your prospect attention. And Kevin will show you how to make them step by step in the Lemlist demo. It takes just a few clicks. Now that we've established the foundation with the email structure, subject line, and introduction, it's time to discuss the meat of your email, the pitch. This is the part where you tell your prospect what your service is about and how exactly you will deliver value to them. So let's stop for a bit on the second part. How exactly you will deliver value to them. This is the key. Since the very beginning of the course, I've mentioned that you should obsess over your customer's problem. Create the service for them and show them what's in it for them. So look at the pitch in this example. Can you spot what's wrong with it? You can pause the video and have a close look at it and take your guess, and I will tell you the answer in a few seconds. Now let's see. There's a lot of talk about a company and their achievement. No mention of the prospect pain point, as the only focus was to talk about their service. No personalization, which shows the email was probably sent to hundreds of thousands of people. Overall, it's very self-centered. So how to get in touch with your prospect by making the email about them and not about you? Let's look at this example. The pitch focuses on the prospect struggle and the need for automated enrichment of the accounts. It aims to create a relationship, not sell. It also creates an emotional connection because it mentions that we know how much time it takes to do this task manually. Another mistake to avoid is focusing on too many pain points. I know you've done your research in the past and now understand your prospect really well, but remember the golden rule of focusing on the most important problem. This applies to your cold email too. Take a look at the pitch in this email. Why this cold email won't get many replies? First of all, it contains a bullet list of different business activities, which can be confusing for the prospect as they won't be sure what the company's specialty is. There is no clear value proposed, and the prospect might get lost in all the info searching for it. And because there is no clear personalized pain point, the email might seem robotic. So let's see the better version. This email underlines the exact pain points that the prospect is currently facing, which will make them relate more easily. It also makes the value very obvious, so they have a reason to reply. It also includes numbers as social proof to build more credibility. Everything you have to offer might be impressive for you. However, your prospect would care more about a specific service or product solving their specific pain point. The more you show your prospect you understand their struggle, the easier it is to tease them with a solution will bring more replies. Another golden rule for succeeding in your outreach is to talk in your audience's language. Knowing the in and outs of your industry makes you assume that everyone understands what you're talking about, which isn't always the case. That's why you should always adjust your writing when reaching out to people. So here's what you don't want your email to sound like. As you can see, there are industry words such as DA, DR, and AdSense that aren't familiar to all prospects. Because of the jargon, the message sounds very formal and cold. It also seems very generic, so it's hard to understand the possible outcome of the service. Would the publication of any of these websites increase my traffic? If yes, by how much? So here's a good example for you. What are the good practices to adopt from here? This email uses a language that the reader speaks on a day-to-day basis, not exclusively at work. It includes useful links that clarify to the prospect what they're talking about, leaving no room for self-interpreting context. It sounds like they talk face-to-face to a prospect, which makes it less generic and a lot more personal. In your cold emails, your goal should not be to sound smarter, but to sound more human and very clear. Companies' job ads are an extremely underrated source of information for your pitch. The take this needle out of my back strategy uses this trick. It shows that you understand their needs and are ready to help solve their problems. Lucas reached to his prospect offering to boost their outbound channel by offering sales meeting as a service. He leverages a job post that he saw from this company in his email. I saw you're hiring for a sales position on AngelList and I was wondering if this is something that I could help you with. Then Lucas goes in for the kill in his pitch by proving how he was created success for his clients in the past, complete with real examples of companies they have been able to get in touch with and help. For example, Tal did something similar to this, reaching out to entrepreneurs with his pitch to show them how he can boost their content efforts. He was very clear about exactly what services he offered and matched this with his clients' needs. Another way to boost your reply rate is to include all the important information in your first email. Roxana did this when reaching out to bloggers aiming to offer guest posts and become a contributor. She eliminated back and forth email by simply doing the work in advance, so all they have to do is respond if they are in. I'm reaching out because I wanted to contribute to creating some fire content for your website. One of our favorites is the 100 personalization method. For example, I use this technique when reaching out to an entrepreneur I wanted to network with. Your lead will love getting emails like this because let's face it, who doesn't like something that is specifically made for them? Kevin will show you how to create your own personalized images and you will see it's super easy and fun. Okay, so now when you have the examples and tactics laid out, how can you apply them? I like to use what's called the push-pull technique. So let's break this down a bit. You first start with a strong ask, like the one in this example, actionable talk, no fluff, that's a promise. And then at the end of your email, you pull away by writing, if you're too busy, I'll understand. Either way, keep rocking. The idea here is not to be too pushy and demanding. Now, what's left to finish up your cold emails with the right CTA? So your prospect can book a meeting directly with you. The most popular CTAs, which we all use at some point, are book a demo or book a call with me. The problem with them is they aren't really personalized. Do you remember that personalization should be your first priority? So your customer got the feeling that you've created your services just for them? Well, your CTA should follow the same principle. The best CTAs provide value. They don't ask for 15 or 30 or 45 minutes of your time. Here's an example of the email with a value-based CTA that Tal from our team sent to his prospect. As you can see, the CTA, could I share a template that's getting 50 plus meetings per week? Suggest a solution to the prospect problem, which is low email responses. We know it works well because here are the response Tal received. If you offer copywriting services, your CTAs can be, can I send you the ultimate content framework that helps me generate 50 content ideas under 15 minutes? That's why you need to understand your prospect struggle, so your CTA can address them. Avoid sending a link to an hour-long webinar that you've done on the topic, as well as inserting some 100-page studies you conducted. Your prospects don't want them. They want a solution to their problems. Overall, good lead magnets get 5 to 10 times more replies than standard email. So now if you really need to have a meeting, you also need to make your prospect life easier. Don't ask them if 5 p.m. next week works. Instead, insert your Calendly or Lemcal link so people can pick the convenient slots themselves. You can and you should personalize your closing line. That's where liquid syntax come into play. You're probably thinking, gee, what is this again? But wait, don't be scared. It's a technique that brings your cold email personalization to the next level. Liquid syntax will also save you a lot of time down the road too. It's way easier than it may seem. It basically allows you to personalize your email based on specific criteria. So for example, when you have leads with different positions within the same campaign, and you want to mention a different pain point depending on if they are like a head of sales or SDR or BDR, well, you'll be able, thanks to liquid syntax, to personalize emails at scale for all your leads. And it works as an easy code builder with condition. Like if this or this, then do that or that. So like if it's a founder, send this text. If it's an SDR, send this version, etc. Of course, when you start playing with it, you can do so many more cool stuff. For example, you can split your email list into 3 segments and divide them into buckets. Let's say these 3 segments are agencies, sales teams, and startups. So each of them can have a different closing that is most relevant to them. Here's how you can do it too. Add a segmentation column to your CSV file, just like this one, then write different closing lines for each segment, then go on Lemlist, create an email and click on add a custom variable, and then choose add liquid syntax. The liquid syntax will then separate different segments automatically like this. But Kevin will show you how to work with liquid syntax based on the prospect job title, the language they speak, and the time your email is sent in a demo of Lemlist a bit later. While they may not get as much attention as subject lines, your email closing lines or CTAs are just as important in writing an effective cold email. They are the final push to convince your prospect to take action. And since your goal is to make your prospect go to the next step, Here are the most important key takeaways to remember. Be short, clear, and concise. Create a smooth transition between the pitch and signature. Get prospects excited about the next step. Use personalization to stand out. Include zero friction, so make your prospect life easier. And always try to build relationships before trying to sell. Now that you understand what it takes to write a perfect cold email that gets replies, let's move on to setting your multi-channel sequences for maximum results. See you in next part. Peace.
So the next few days are going to feel like Christmas. This was just the first of 3 implementation classes that we're going to be running through. And I also want you to know that this is just one of 17 modules that Guillaume has recorded for Agency Accelerator. So today you just got a tiny piece of his outreach masterclass, basically a full course in of itself that is inside of Agency Accelerator. Make sure you go ahead and click the link in the description, join Agency Accelerator. And on behalf of myself and my team, we're very, very excited to be working closely with you to grow your agency. And on that note, I will see you in the next implementation class.